students. How are you all? I hope you are all doing well. Students, in the previous class, we have learnt about nutrition in plants and nutrition in amoeba. In amoeba, which mode of heterotropic nutrition will take place? Yeah, it is holozoic nutrition. Today, we are going to discuss about nutrition in human beings and also respiration in human beings. Human digestive system consists of alimentary canal and glands. Okay student, what is this alimentary canal? Alimentary canal is a long tube extending from mouth to the anus. Students, how long it will be? In an adult human being, its length is 30 feet or 9 meters long. So this alimentary canal includes following organs: mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. These are the main associated glands, that is salivary gland, gastric gland, liver and pancreas. So these glands secrete the enzymes or juices for the digestion of the food. Let's see the journey of food inside our body. Students will take different varieties of food, and these food has to be passed through the same digestive tract. These food are hard, and these food may damage our alimentary canal. Then how the food is going to be made as very soft and with the same texture? It is done in our mouth or buccal cavity. So the digestion process will take place from the mouth. So the food is going to be crushed by the teeth. Crushed food is made soft by wetting with saliva. So this saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. So this saliva makes the food very soft and slippery for the easy passage of the food. And the saliva contains enzyme called salivary amylase which digests the starch. So the saliva contains salivary amylase which converts the complex starch molecule into simple sugar molecule. Then the crushed and or grinded food enters to the throat or pharynx. So this pharynx is the passage for the air and also food. Then students, how food enters only to the food pipe, not to the windpipe? So this is achieved by the presence of epiglottis. So epiglottis is present at the base of your tongue, which prevents the entry of the food into the windpipe. So in the presence of epiglottis, the food only enters into the food pipe. Okay, then what is the name of this food pipe? Esophagus. So esophagus is the food pipe, and it is approximately 25 centimeter long. And food is going to be passed through the esophagus by the movement called peristaltic movement. So the peristaltic movement is nothing but contraction and expansion of the muscles of the esophagus. So through this movement, food is going to be passed to the stomach. By the peristaltic movement, food enters to the stomach. So stomach is the J-shaped bag. So in the stomach, the food is going to be digested. Gastric glands secretes the pepsin enzyme. So this pepsin enzyme will digest the protein. So the protein is going to be digested by the enzyme pepsin. And also which acid is going to be secreted, children? It is hydrochloric acid. So this hydrochloric acid kills the bacteria which is present in the food, and also it provides the acidic medium for the action of the pepsin enzyme. So this hydrochloric acid will kills the bacteria which is present in the food, and also it provides the acidic medium for the pepsin enzyme. Acid is dangerous. It may damage our stomach. Then how our stomach is protected from the acid? It is by the presence of mucus in the inner lining of our stomach. So what is this role of the mucus? Which protects the stomach from the acid. Then food is going to be exited from the stomach. Is controlled or regulated by the muscle called sphincter muscles, which is present at the end of the stomach. Then from the stomach, food enters to the small intestine. This small intestine is the longest part of the digestive system. It is approximately 7 meters long, and this small intestine receives the pancreatic juice and also bile juice for the digestion of the food. And this pancreatic juice contains enzymes called trypsin and lipase. Trypsin, which breaks down the proteins. So trypsin, which digests the proteins, and lipase, which breaks down the fats. Pancreatic juices contains two enzymes, that is trypsin and the lipase. Trypsin breaks down the proteins, lipase breaks down the fats. And liver secretes the bile juice. This bile juice provides the alkaline medium for the action of the pancreatic enzyme. See, before the food was acidic. Now it has to be converted into alkaline medium. So it is done by the bile juice. So, and also this bile juice breaks the larger fat globules into smaller globules, and this process is called emulsification. A breakdown of larger fat globules into smaller globules, this process is called as emulsification. Then what is the significance of this emulsification? So it helps to increase the surface area for the enzyme action. Complete digestion will take place inside the small intestine. Intestinal glands secretes the enzyme which converts the carbohydrates into glucose, proteins into amino acids, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. The complete digestion will take place inside the small intestine, and in the small intestine, the carbohydrate is converted into glucose, and proteins are converted into amino acids, and fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. The food is completely digested in small intestine. Then it has to be supplied to the eat cells of our body. Then how it is passed to the each cell of the body? Yes, through the blood. There will be a finger-like projection which is present inside the small intestine. They are called as villi. The villi are finger-like projections which are present in the small intestine. So these villi absorbs the digested food, and also they increases the surface area for the absorption of the food. These villi are richly supplied with the blood vessels for the easy transport of the food. Then the unabsorbed or undigested food is sent to the large intestine, where it will absorb the excess of water in the undigested food. Then rest of the waste material is removed from the body through the anus. In this way, the digestion will take place inside our body. Herbivores has a longer small intestine, and carnivores has a shorter small intestine. Why is this variation in the small intestine? Because herbivores eat grass which contains a cellulose. So this cellulose takes more time to digest. So hence herbivores has a long small intestine. Meat is easier to digest when compared to the grass. Hence, carnivores has a small long intestine.
The process of digestion begins inside the mouth. The teeth break down the food into smaller particles. It then gets mixed with the saliva in the mouth to form a slurry mass called bolus. As the food is swallowed, the soft palate blocks the upper throat called the pharynx, which prevents the entry of food into the nasal cavity. When the food passes over the epiglottis, which is a flap-like structure which prevents the entry of food into the trachea, it pushes down the epiglottis. The food then enters the food pipe, or esophagus, which connects the pharynx to the stomach and is gently pushed down to the stomach by wave-like muscle contractions and relaxations known as peristalsis. When the food enters the stomach, a J-shaped bag-like structure, mucus, hydrochloric acid, and digestive juices that are present in the stomach act on the food to help digest it through chemical action. The mucous membrane protects the inner wall of the stomach from the effects of the acid. The hydrochloric acid kills the bacteria that enter along with the food and also helps in the digestion of proteins. The digestive juices start breaking down the proteins present in the food into simpler forms. Muscular contractions in the stomach churn this food mass to further break it down and mix it with secretions in the stomach to form a thick liquid. This thick liquid is called chyme. The chyme exits the stomach through peristaltic movements and enters the small intestine where most of the digestion occurs.
Here the food is showered with bile that digests fats and pancreatic juices that contain enzymes to digest carbohydrates, fats and proteins. The walls of the small intestine also release enzymes. The small intestine is over 5 meters long and the food moves along by peristalsis, as in the esophagus. After the food leaves the small intestine, almost all the nutrients have been absorbed. Next, the food moves into the large intestine. The main role of the large intestine is to absorb water, nutrients and salts, and convert waste products into a more solid form that can be excreted from the body as feces.
So far, we have discussed about nutrition in human beings. In that, we have discussed how the digestion will take place inside our body. This digested food is transported to the each cells of our body through the blood. Students, main purpose of eating a food is to get energy. Then how this absorbed food is converted into energy? The absorbed food is converted into energy by the process of respiration. Now we are going to discuss about respiration. Respiration not only involves breathing, and it mainly involves oxidation of food. Respiration is a biochemical process in which it includes breathing and oxidation of glucose. And you all know about breathing. It is a physical process in which it involves inhalation and exhalation. And you are going to inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. First, we are going to discuss about breakdown of glucose or how the food is converted into energy. This process will take place inside the cell, hence this process is called as cellular respiration. So breakdown of glucose which takes place inside the cells, hence this process is called as cellular respiration. For the breakdown of glucose, oxygen is essential. For this reason, our body takes up oxygen from the atmosphere. Students, what is the formula of glucose? It is C6H12O6. Glucose has 6 carbon molecule. So this glucose in cytoplasm, it is converted into pyruvate molecule and also energy is released. What is the cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is a fluid material which fills up the cells. Students, which organelle is called as powerhouse of the cell? Yeah, it is mitochondria. So inside this mitochondria, the pyruvate molecule in the presence of oxygen, it is converted as carbon dioxide, water and energy is released. This pyruvate molecule is converted as carbon dioxide and water and energy is released in the presence of oxygen. So this type of respiration is called as aerobic respiration. Aero means air, that means the respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen. During aerobic respiration, the energy is released and also carbon dioxide is going to be produced. Hence, mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. Students, during the sports or when you play more games in the playground, you will feel pain in your muscles. Okay, what is the reason for this pain? During sports or any heavy work, more energy is required. If more energy is needed, then more oxygen also required. At that time, the pyruvate molecule is converted as a lactic acid and also energy is released. During lack of oxygen, this pyruvate molecule is converted as lactic acid and energy. And this process will take place inside your muscles. Deposition of lactic acid in your muscle, it causes the cramps or pain in your muscles. So deposition of lactic acid in your muscles results the cramps in your muscles. Some of the microorganism does not require oxygen for the breaking of food. Example, yeast. In yeast cell, in the absence of oxygen, glucose is converted as ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy, and this type of respiration is called as anaerobic respiration. That is respiration which takes place in the absence of oxygen. In this 3 pathway, the energy is released. Students, what are the products of aerobic respiration? It is carbon dioxide and water. Ethanol, carbon dioxide are the products of anaerobic respiration. Energy released during oxidation of the glucose is not utilized by our cells immediately, but energy is immediately converted as ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate molecule. So the energy is converted as a ATP molecule, and this ATP molecule acts as a fuel. That means whenever our cells requires energy, this ATP molecule is again converted as energy. So this ATP is the energy currency for the most cellular processes. Students, in the single cell organism like amoeba, air enters the body of the amoeba through the diffusion. What about complex organisms like animals and human beings? We have specialized respiratory system for the breathing. Human respiratory system includes nasal cavity, pharynx, epiglottis, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli and diaphragm. So first, air enters through the nostrils. So these nostrils, there are two openings in the nose. So it is lined with the hairs and mucous membrane. It filters the air. Then air passes through the pharynx or throat. Then air passes to the larynx. Larynx is nothing but voice box. Children, then what is the name of the windpipe? So its name is trachea. Trachea is covered with the rings of cartilage. So in the presence of cartilage, the pipe will not collapse. Then this trachea is divided into bronchi inside the lungs. So this trachea is branched as bronchi. Then again this bronchi is divided into bronchioles. So first air enters to the nasal cavity, then pharynx, that is nothing but throat, then voice box, that is larynx, then windpipe, that is trachea. Air enters to the lungs through the bronchi and bronchioles. Thin-walled air sacs or balloon-like structure which is present at the end of the bronchioles, they are called as alveoli. Why the alveoli, they are air sacs or balloon-like structures? Because they provide large surface area for the exchange of gases. And also they contain a large network of blood vessels for the transport of the oxygen. Air is absorbed by the alveoli. Then how it is transported to the each cells of our body? Yeah, through the blood. Students, which is the pigment which gives a red color to the blood? It is hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin which is present in the blood, it transports the absorbed oxygen. Hemoglobin binds the oxygen and it transported to the each cells of our body. And this absorbed oxygen is required for the oxidation of the glucose. And what are the products that are released during the breaking of glucose? It is carbon dioxide, water and energy. And our body does not require carbon dioxide. It has to be removed. This carbon dioxide dissolves in the plasma of the blood. And this carbon dioxide rich blood comes to the lungs. Reverse cycle will takes place. That is, again carbon dioxide is absorbed by the alveoli. Then it comes to the bronchioles, then bronchi, then it is to the trachea, then it is removed through the nasal cavity. So in this way, the exchange of gases will take place. Our lungs are protected by rib cage, and also below the lungs there is a presence of dome-shaped muscle. It is called diaphragm. So it contracts and relaxes during the breathing. During inhalation, our chest cavity expands. At that time, ribs lift up and diaphragm moves down. The volume of our lungs increases and air enters to the lungs. During exhalation, chest cavity contracts, ribs move downwards and diaphragm becomes dome-shaped. The volume of the lungs decreases and carbon dioxide rich air exits the lungs. Students, have you observed the breathing rate in aquatic organisms? You have observed the fish will breathe very fast. What is the reason? Because amount of dissolved oxygen is very low in water, hence they will breathe very fast. So what about respiration in plants? Even plants also respire. Their respiration will take place through the stomata. During the night, the photosynthesis will not take place, hence the oxygen enters through the stomata and carbon dioxide comes out. And the oxygen enters through the surface of the roots. So far, we have discussed about nutrition in human beings and respiration in human beings. Now take down the homework. First question is explain the role of pancreatic juice in digestion. Second one is which acid causes cramps in our muscles. Third one is why is the breathing rate of aquatic animals is very high. Fourth one is differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Fifth one is draw a neat label diagram of human alimentary canal.